In this presentation, we will discuss the discussion question of describe a profit center and how it can be evaluated. If we see an essay question or discussion question such as this, our objective typically is to expand on the essay question or discussion question. If it's an essay question, if we put more information into the essay question, we'll typically be more likely to pick up points and not penalized for having too few information, typically. Discussion questions, generally we want to contribute to the discussion and therefore expand on the topic, typically. So when we see something like this, let's go through it again. Describe a profit center and how it can be evaluated. We can consider that in the larger perspective first. We can think about, well, how does that fit into managerial accounting? We could say this is a managerial type of accounting topic. You could zoom out in that sense and say, well, managerial accounting type topic, as opposed to a financial accounting type topic, is geared towards internal use. When we're thinking about a profit center, then we're zooming in, finding information on a specific segment, as opposed to zooming out in financial accounting and usually looking at the entire company as a whole. Why would we want to do that? Because we want to have better decision making on the processes, and sometimes it will be easier to do that if we zoom in, we look at the organization and from structure to structure in components. So if we consider that type of analysis, we will typically break out, or one way we can break out the organization is by types of centers. We can have a profit center, we can have a cost center, we can have investment centers. So listing those types of centers out will typically be another good good thing you can list out, because by listing out the different centers, you will be able to compare and contrast then between the different types of centers. In other words, what is a profit center? One way to define it is by saying this is what it is in contrast to other types of centers. So we're going to break out the cost center, some segment of the organization, as compared to other centers such as investment centers and cost centers. What's different about a profit center? The profit center is going to have both profit and costs. And then it can be evaluated then on profits and costs, typically on the profits over the costs, as you would typically think of more like a net income type of calculation for an entire company. But of course, for the profit center, we're looking at the profit center as opposed to a cost center, where we're talking about a center that only has control over costs of that center and not any profits, and therefore our evaluation of that center will differ because they only have the ability to control costs. They don't have the ability to generate revenue. Therefore, when we break out that segment, we're going to measure them and judge them differently. We also have an investment center, which is going to have revenue, could have inflow and outflow, revenue and costs. However, typically, if you're talking about investments, you're talking about longer term investments. So the time horizon differs, and therefore our measurement tools, our judgment tools, how we're going to measure performance tools differ from a profit center as well.